What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka Allfires. I've been reading about legal documents for the last 6 hours. This morning has been crazy. There are lawsuits going out on both sides. People like Steve Ditko's son and the representation of their estate filing for a termination of copyright for characters like Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. In layperson's terms, that means that the creator, the original drawer, Steve Ditko's son, wants the copyright back for those characters. You also have Marvel suing, throwing out lawsuits in order to keep the rights to Avengers. Everyone from Iron Man to Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Antman, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Falcon, and it all comes down to one phrase, work for hire, and what's included in another phrase, the Marvel method. I'm going to break down exactly what those last two terms are, what's going on with these lawsuits, why Marvel is countersuing in their idea, and ultimately, not only what would happen if these lawsuits went through, but what's the likelihood that Marvel could actually lose the Avengers, Spider-Man, and the rest of these, not be able to make movies, and or be indebted in millions in cease and desists, or actually at this point, probably billions. There is so much to unpack here. Like I said, I've been reading all morning. I'm completely caught up. I'm going to break down exactly what's going on with these legal suits, the rights for Spider-Man, who's suing who and why. But first, if you could maybe consider hitting the subscribe button. We do daily Marvel content here at the channel. Everything from anonymous 4chan plot leaks all the way to director interviews, Easter eggs, and breakdowns, and the sort of legal news we're covering today as it pertains to the industry. So if any of that's for you, maybe consider hitting the subscribe button, leaving a comment down below, and if you want, stick around at the end of the video. We'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. That includes PlayStation 5s, weekly Disney Plus subscriptions, and tickets to go see the films when they're out. Okay, so like I said, there is a lot to unpack here, but I'm going to boil it down and basically give you the facts straight through from start to finish before I start weighing in on what I think will actually happen at the end of all this. Here are just the facts. If you saw anything about this story before this video, you saw one of two headlines. The first of which, Steve Ditko estate attempts to reclaim Spider-Man and Doctor Strange copyrights. The second of which, Marvel suing to keep the rights to Avengers characters from copyright termination. As the Hollywood Reporter goes on to report, quote, Disney's Marvel unit is suing to hold on to Avengers characters including Iron Man, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Antman, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Falcon, and others. The complaints, which the Hollywood Reporter has obtained, come against heirs of some of the late comic book geniuses, including Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, and Gene Colan. These suits seek declaratory relief that these blockbuster characters are ineligible for copyright termination, as the works were made for hire. If Marvel loses, Disney would be letting ownership of these characters worth billions slip from their fingertips. They then go on to report, quote, that last month, the administrator of Steve Ditko's estate filed a notice of termination on Spider-Man, which first appeared in the comic book in 1962. Under the termination provisions of copyright law, authors of their heirs can reclaim the rights once granted to publishers after waiting for a statutory set period of time. According to the termination notice, Marvel would lose the rights for the iconic characters in 2023. So to boil all of that down, basically Steve Ditko's son, Stan Lee's son, said, hey, our fathers created those characters. Under what circumstance doesn't matter, because there's a statute that says they can actually reclaim those rights. But Marvel's contention is that it does matter. And work for hire is one of those situations where there is actually precedence in a different lawsuit where this exact same thing had already happened, where when something's made work for hire, they own the rights. And this is where I was talking about in the prologue. It's going to come down to that. It's going to focus on, was this work for hire or not? And the Marvel method, meaning a lot of things are co-created in an open environment, the same way we've heard it is over at Marvel Studios, where you have multiple producers and multiple directors weighing in with ideas, all working together to make it a collaborative process so that the rights really fall within the company's collaborative process, not just one specific person who was paid to make that intellectual property in the first place. Now, I'm going to weigh in with a couple of ideas and thoughts here. First of all, do not panic, because Disney has more money than anyone else to throw at these kind of lawsuits. Also, the estate for Steve Ditko, his Stan Lee's son, Steve Ditko's son, they see billions of dollars in Marvel movies and know that even if they can get a settlement, that settlement could be worth generational money. And Marvel Studios, Disney, lawyers, that's what they're all looking for anyway. It's all about who needs to get paid for what. However, I will say, and very, very pointedly, that this came up real recently here at the channel within the last month regarding Secret Wars characters and the creator Jim Shooter, who talked about this exact thing. I will make sure to link that video down in the description, down in the comments, and at the end of this video. But Jim Shooter, the creator of Secret Wars and other Marvel favorites, was recently at MegaCon in Orlando in the last month or two and was asked point blank about Marvel Studios perhaps doing a Secret Wars movie, in which he talked about this exact situation where a publicist over from Marvel's publishing team and copyrights called him and asked him to sign a piece of paper that acknowledged it was a work for hire, basically a legal document and contract and a waiver for this exact situation. And when Jim Shooter on the phone said, hey, it was a work for hire, what do you want me to lie and say it wasn't? It was. You don't need me to sign that. They're like, no, we're prepared to pay you $10,000 to obtain that recent legal document to ensure this kind of exact thing doesn't happen. What's working in Marvel and Disney's favor, though, is that Jim Shooter readily admitted it was a work for hire, understood the circumstance, much like many of these characters were made under. But first, let me also say, because now it's starting to sound like I'm defending Marvel and Disney and that they should do no wrong. Look, it is not unknown that there have not been favorable treatment of artists over at Marvel, at certain comic book companies, and just art in general is very much undervalued when it comes to these sort of corporate structures. You guys may or may not remember a movie called Life of Pi, critically acclaimed. It was basically all CGI, and after that film came out, won a bunch of awards and everything else, the CGI house that did that film actually went bankrupt. Artists are never really are in this sort of circumstance are never really given the sort of money that they should be, and that's just the nature of the job. As much as I support Disney and Marvel Studios, I also stand with Stan Lee and Steve Ditko's estate's kids. I understand exactly what they're thinking. Hey, our fathers created that IP, and we are not being reimbursed the way that we feel we should for the amount of dollars that are out there. And so when I report this stuff, no matter how it sounds when I start spitting out facts, it was the same situation with Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, and Marvel. Look, there is a bunch of money involved. If Marvel and Disney don't think that they owe that money, they're going to hire lawyers, throw money at it, not want to deal with it. Scarlett Johansson saw money on the table. She thinks she's entitled to it. Hire a lawyer, go get that money. It's a bunch of money. We're talking about millionaires getting more millions. It's just so much, negotiation through the legal process. So that's why I would say don't panic. Again, Disney and Marvel have more money than ever, and eventually they're just going to settle this one way or another. Now, whatever that dollar amount ends up being through compensation, but that's what I just was referring to as negotiation through the legal process, because if they can't get Disney and Marvel Studios to agree to pay them a percentage or rights, they sue for the rights altogether, and then whatever they can get in a settlement is what they would have wanted in the first place. They just go all the way. You have Marvel and Disney countersuing. Man, I am so glad that I am not involved in any of that. But guys, let me know all your thoughts down below. I'm assuming there's a lot of you who feel the same way, but don't let the headlines scare you. I doubt that Marvel and Disney will ever lose the rights to Avengers and Spider-Man. Technically, Sony would be involved with this as well, but Marvel owns the rights to Spider-Man. Sony actually just has the film rights. Either way, guys, don't panic. It'll probably be all good. And either way, it would take years for this to play out. I know they threw the date in there, lose the rights in 2023, but we are still, this could be locked up in the courts for 10 years. So there's no end to this in sight no time soon, except for a settlement. Let me know all your thoughts down below. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. All right, we're still giving away 2 PlayStation 5s, weekly Disney Plus subscriptions, tickets to go see the films when they're out. We'll give away some Venom tickets in a couple of weeks as well. All you have to do to be entered to win, make sure you hit the subscribe button, then leave a comment down below. Because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos the same way we're doing here. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with notifications turned on. And as always, if you enjoyed today's video, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. My name's Michael Roman. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at IamFires. You can also find me on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Apple, wherever you listen to original music under the name All Fires. Thanks for checking out the channel, guys. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.